Okay, so 3.3. Let me. Intercepts. Okay. So what are intercepts?
-5 - 0. Oh, I'm sorry.
What are intercepts in general? Places where the line intersects, right? Boom, boom, right there. Those two places. Places where the line hits the grid lines, the x-axis, the y-axis. So that point right there. What's the coordinates at that point? Remember how we do coordinates? First number is what?
X.
Yeah, it's over. It's x, right? Second number's up, down, it's y, huh? So that's over 1, up 0. You good? This point is over 0, down 1, isn't it? We good? So those are the two intercept points. Those are the places where the blue line smacks into the grid line. Is that good? This one's called this one right here is the x-intercept because it hits the x-axis. This other one here is the y-intercept because it hits the y-axis on that. We good? All is well? All right. I'll keep on moving. If you're good, I'm good. So number 3, basically it wants you to identify all the intercepts, list all the points, put commas between them. So, can you do that? How many intercepts are there?
4.
4.
4 of them, huh?
Yeah.
It's a lot. So go ahead and go through it. Let's start with this one. So write down the coordinates of that one over here. Remember, it's always parentheses, comma, the two numbers.
-5, 0.
Yeah, -5, 0. We good there? Because again, the first number is over. The second number's up or down. So back 5, up 0. This, how about this second point here?
0,
Yeah.
3.
This one is 0, 3. Good. Do the other two. Go ahead and find the other two. Put those down. So this one right here, over 1, up 0. And then how about the one way over here? Over 8, up 0. We good? So notice, and they just want you to put commas. When you list these, they just want you to put commas between them all in one line. That's the answer they want on that. This one's 8, 0. Now, we're about to do something more complex with intercepts. So let's start to make a couple observations. Notice that they all have one of their numbers being 0. Do you notice that? It's always the case. One of the numbers is 0. And in particular, notice, if it's a point on the x-axis, like let me be real clear about that. This one's hitting this is the x-axis, right? The sideways axis. These 3 are hitting the x-axis, and for all 3, their y-coordinate is 0, huh? And then the one point that hits the y-axis, his x-coordinate is 0. Notice that? So basically, if you're on one of the axes, your other number is 0. Right? Do you see that? If you're on the x-axis, your y-coordinate is 0. You're on the x, what? Because you're up 0. If you're on the x-axis, your height is 0, huh? So your y-coordinate is 0. Whereas if you're on the y-axis, your x is 0, because your sideways is 0. And we're going to use that. In a minute, they're going to give us equations, not pictures. This is nice pictures. In a minute, they're just going to throw an equation at us. And they're going to say, all right, just from the equation, no picture to look at, find the x-intercepts, find the y-intercepts. And at that point, what I'll say is, well, we already know that if you are an x-intercept, if you are an x-intercept, your y is 0. And if you're a y-intercept, your x is 0. Your opposite letter is 0. And we'll use that at that time will plug in. So just remember that. We'll say this section's really picky. Honestly, I don't think this is super important, but see what they say? They say use the intercepts to get the graph. Use the intercepts to get the graph. So that's what they're wanting me to do. They're wanting me to get the graph by the intercepts. Okay, well, what do you mean? Isn't that what we did? No, not what we did here. If you look back to what we did, we got y alone, and it was 1/3 x plus 0, right? That's what we did. And that meant we started at 0, and we went up 1 over 3. That was great and all. Oh, yeah, no, that was okay. I'm sorry. I'm just really struggling tonight. I think Shelby's here.
Amen.
Otherwise, I would leave tonight and go, whoops. All right, so x plus 5y equals -5. Let's redo number 10 the right way. What do I mean the right way? They want you to find the intercepts. They don't want you to do the thing I just wrote up there. Even though this is a great method, really, I think an easier method. And on the test, you can do whatever you want. You know, I won't say do this method, do that method. I'll just say graph it however you want. If you want to just do this get y alone thing, great, you've got it. Let me show you their method, though, because they're going to make you do it their way because they'll know which 2 dots you're putting on there. So let me show you what I mean. So here's the other way. Let me go back and put it here. Okay, here's the way. So I'm going to graph by the intercepts. Graph by intercepts. Now, what does that mean to graph by intercepts? That means you've got to graph this line by finding like 2 dots, maybe those 2, you know, whatever, 2 dots actually on the grid lines. They don't want, see what I did here? Let's look back to what I did on number 10. Wherever, there it is. See how we found 1 dot on the grid line. That one's good. They're happy with that one. But that other dot we used wasn't on the grid line. They're not going to be happy with that. Really, it's fine. That's the right line. What other dot do they want us to find? See this other one over here? They want you to find that one. They want you to use these 2 dots that hit the grid lines and make the line that way, not the way I did it. Does that make sense?
Can't you just make x 0 and then y 0?
That's exactly what you do. Yeah, you're right on the money. Yeah. So that's what we're going to do. So you get the idea. You see the new plan. Let's go back and do it. So, all right, so that's what I did wrong. They want me to graph. The line was right. That was the true line. But we didn't find it the right way, and we didn't put the right dots. So, yeah, how do you do it? By graphing intercepts? Yeah, exactly what you were saying. You put a 0 for x and find y, and a 0 for y and find x. Because remember how we were looking earlier that all intercept points have one of their numbers 0? That's what's going to do it. So we don't do any of this get y alone stuff in this. This is a whole different way. And on the test, you can do whichever way you like. But right now, they're going to make us do it this way. So here we go. So what do? We take the equation they gave us. X plus 5y equals -5. It's because I wasn't reading any of those words. I just skipped the words. I'm a math teacher. I don't care about the words. But those words mattered, didn't they? All right, so x plus 5y is -5. So I'm going to plug 0 in for x right here. So right there, boom, I'm going to put 0 in for x. Is that good? So when you do that, you get this, and 0, that's just, gone. You don't need it. And you solve for y. How do I solve for y there? Yeah, divide by 5. So y equals, what's -5 over 5? -1. So you put that next to the x0. See, we got that from plugging in x0, right? That's what led to that. So that goes with x0. That's going to be 1 dot. Those 2 numbers are going to make 1 dot on a grid line. That's going to be one of the grid line numbers. Now we just need to find the other one. So the other one, let me draw a line here. Now we're going to start again. You start a second time with the same equation, and this time we're going to put 0 for y. Do you see the deal? I call this the double 0 table usually. So we're using diagonal zeros. We start with 0 for x, solve, now 0 for y. This one will be even easier. Now plug in 0 for y. So right here I'm going to plug in 0 for y, so I'll get x plus 5 times 0 is -5. Good so far, just plugged in 0 there. And what's 5 times 0? The 0, that's just gone, so it's just x equals negative 5. So put that back over here.
This is only if it wants you to graph by intercept?
And that's what they're going to want in this section. That's right. Yeah, it's when they say graph, use intercepts. Yeah. We should read the words. Yeah.
Can you solve the other equations with this method?
You can get the correct line either way.
The line is going to be the same, but
It's going to be exactly the same. But I'm going to have to click 2 dots.
Yeah.
And they're going to know which dots I clicked. And if I click 2 dots and one of them's not on the grid line, they'll give you the although message. Have you got that before? Have you got that from Math Exam?
Right,
although your answer is right, we're not giving you credit because you didn't do it our way. They don't say it quite like that, but that's what they mean. Yeah, that's right. So we have to do it with these 2 dots. Are you tracking with me? So when they say intercepts, you have to do it this new way with the double 0 table. Let's finish it off now. I can erase this. So now we just make the graph and put those 2 dots on there. Those 2 dots will be our line. It's going to be the same line we had a minute ago. But we're using different dots. So here we go. Here's the first one. Over 0, down 1. Right there, huh? Over 0, down 1. And then the second one. Back 5. Up 0. Back 5, up 0. And then we just connect the dots. See how it's the same line we had a minute ago? Let's look back. I'll go back. See what we did a minute ago? There. See, it's the same line, huh? See that line we did a minute ago? We just found a dot here and a dot there instead. It's going to be the same line in the end. But this time, we did it with 2 points, both on the grid lines, huh? Both intercept points. So this is another way to graph lines. All right. Okay, so.
That's it.
All right.
We're not getting y alone.
We're going to use the table now?
Yeah. Not going to do what?
We're not getting y alone.
Not getting y alone, exactly. So they're going to keep saying throughout this section, use intercepts. So we're going to do the double 0 table. Double 0 table. So go ahead and do it with the double 0 table there. So you're going to use that equation. We're not going to get y alone. Right, everybody with me? We're using this other method where we don't get y alone. So just plug in x0, solve, and then restart and plug in y0 and solve, right? Get those 2 dots, put them on the graph. Okay, so let's do it. So with the double 0 table, we don't get y alone. We just do the equation twice, don't we? So I'm going to bring it down here. Minus 1 is 2x minus 1. And I'll write it here as well. We're going to do it twice. Everybody making sense out of this new method? We're going to do it twice. The first time, I'm going to put in 0 for x. So put in 0 right there. So I'll get, what will I get? Minus 1 is 2 times 0 minus y. That's just minus 1 is minus y, right? Because 2 times 0 is just gone. And now y, we got to get y alone. He's got a minus sign with him. How do we finish getting y alone?
Divided by 1, minus 1.
Divide by negative 1, because those 2 negatives make positive over there, don't they? And what is negative 1 over negative 1?
1.
Regular 1, positive, because 2 negatives make positive. So this goes back here. Does that make sense? Right? So I took the equation, I plugged in 0 for x, got y alone, put it back with the next to the x0. Good? And then start again. Start again. And this time, I'm going to, what am I going to do? I'm going to, now I'm going to put 0 for y, huh? So I'm going to put 0, because 0 is here for y. I'm going to take the equation and plug 0 in right there for y. And I'll get minus 1 is 2x minus 0. Does that make sense? Y is 0. And 2x minus nothing is just 2x, huh? And how do you finish getting x alone there? By the 2. By whatever's next to x, huh? Boom, x is negative a half. So you bring that over as the x value. It's kind of weird having a fraction, but that's possible. So good. Now we just got to put those 2 dots on the graph. Are you okay with those steps? I'm going to erase them to put in the graph. Is that okay, though? Does that make sense how I did that? No questions? All right, so let's do the graph then. So I'll erase this first one, I guess. So I'll sneak the graph in over here. So it's going to be over 0, so this first point, over 0, up 1. Go right there, that's up 1. So it's over 0, up 1. The other point, so this is back 1. The other point is only back a half. Right there, huh? Back a half, up 0. We good there? Connect the dots. See how both those dots are on the grid lines? Because they both have a 0 in them. Make sense? Over 0, up 1, back a half.
Can I see that?
Now, how do you do that on the Math Excel or My Math Lab graphing system? Let's go take a look. Okay, let's try that one. Again, we're going to graph by the double 0 table. So I'm going to make an XY table, 0 here, 0 there, right? Double 0 table. Go ahead and, do the equation twice. Right, we're going to write it twice. So minus x plus 5y is 3, and then over here again, minus x plus 5y is 3. And in one case, you plug in x0. The other place, you plug in y0. Solve them both. Okay, so so now we're supposed to solve. So I'll put 0 for x. So that goes right there. And so that's just gone. I'm supposed to solve for y. If I divide by 5, we don't want to leave any fractions. Fractions are just hard to work with. Just divide it on your calculator. Just go 3 divided by 5. You'll get 0.6. 0.6. Good so far? So just always turn these into decimals, just because that's easier to work with. Easier to find the dots on the graph than fractions. All right, let's do the next one. 0 for y. Plug in 0 right there. Minus x plus 5 times 0 is 3. That's just gone. Minus x is 3. How do I get rid of that minus sign next to x? I divide by -1, huh? Both sides. 2 minuses are canceled, gone. So x is positive over negative? -3. Bring back the -3. We good? So we got our 2 dots. Now we put them on the graph. I'm going to erase this if that's okay. I'm whipping along too quick here. And so let's put them on there. So here we go. So the first over, so I'll make this like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. So the first dot is over 0, up 0.6. Where's that? Oh, I don't know, about right there, a little past half. Over 0, up, let me make that a little nicer. Over 0, up 0.6. And the other one is back 3, up 0. And then we connect the dots. And there's the line. Does that make sense? And I'll go show you on Math Excel as well in just a second. Does everybody see what's happening here? So we got over 0, up 0.6. That's a little more than halfway to 1. And back 3, up 0. We good with that? Is that making sense? Let's go back to math. X equals, oops, not working too well there. X equals -8. Graph it. So do you remember how to do that? Do you remember how to graph that? It's going to be a straight line. It's not a point, right? We're talking about a whole line. Talking about a whole line. So how do we do it? How do we graph x equals -8? Yeah, we just go on the x-axis over to -8 right there. Right, that's x equals -8 dot, and you just put a line right through that dot. Straight up and down, huh? Good?
But you need to make another dot either way up or down.
Right, so when you use the program, you'll need to actually put 2 dots. Yeah, that's how it'll make the line. Exactly. We good? Too bad. Okay, can you graph that one? Y equals -3. So what's that one going to do?
You go down on the y-axis.
Right there at negative, there's the -3 dot, on the y-axis. And then just put a line right through that thing. At -3 on the y-axis. We good? These are easy. This graphing stuff's easy, huh? So far. So y plus 5 equals 0, and they want me to graph that. So it's a little different than the last couple, because on the last couple, x and y were already alone, huh? So what do we do here first? Get the y alone, huh? Yeah, so first get the y alone, then graph it, right? Always first get it alone. So we always get x or y alone when we graph. So I'm just going to subtract 5 from both sides. So y equals -5. So then we know how to do that. Go to the y-axis, which is the y-axis is the up-down one, huh? Find the point -5 right there, and put a line through the y-axis at -5. We're rolling. We're already done with 7 problems. We'll be out an hour early tonight for sure. I'm kidding. I never let anybody out early. We need every second. You paid for the whole time, and I aim to give you all your money's worth. All right, so x equals 3y. So now, this one's going to be different than the other ones we're doing, right? This one's going to be different. Why? Why is this one different?
It has to divide.
Yeah, this time we have both letters, huh? So it's not going to be flat line or a straight up and down line. It's going to have some kind of slant to it, isn't it? It's not going to be straight up and down or straight sideways. Those ones that are straight up and down or straight sideways, they only have one letter. Have you noticed that pattern? If it just has X or it just has Y, it's flat or straight up and down. But when they have both letters, they're going to have some kind of incline to them. There's going to be some slant to it. So what do? What's the general game plan? What do you always do? Remember last time we were talking about our strategy for what we do. So let me right here. What's the first step? Get Y alone, remember? And then, in fact, let me just go over here, probably best. What number is this? I forgot. Is it 9? 8?
Number 8.
You sure?
Yeah.
That was 9. All right, so x equals 3y. So the steps are step number 1, get the y alone. And then step number 2, when you get the y alone, remember what you have? You have the rise over run, which is the slope next to x. And then the b out here, that's your starting number. Positive is up, negative is down, always in the middle, huh? In the middle line. Remember that? So yeah, so what do I do first then in this problem? Got to get y alone. So how do I get y alone? Divide by the 3, right? We good? Divide by the 3, boom, y is alone. Doesn't matter, by the way, it doesn't matter right side, left side. Just leave it over there on the right side. Doesn't matter at all. That's not important, just getting it alone is important. So then y is alone. Oops. Y is alone. And I just have x over 3. Now that's kind of weird looking. That doesn't really have the look. So here we go again with the plastic surgery stuff, right? Yeah. A lot of math is making things have the look we need so we can do what we need to do. So I'm going to remove the wrinkles, so to speak here. So notice I need to have number over number x plus number. Right? That's the look I need so that, I know how to do my graph thing, right? I have to have a number out here as my first dot. These two numbers are rise and run. So how can I take this and make it look like that without really changing anything,
Multiply by 1.
Yeah, so what's really on the top when there's no number up there?
1.
There's really a 1, because 1 times x, that's still just x. We haven't changed anything, huh? So it's 1 times x over 3. And then what number's out here? Could I go plus 1, because 1 doesn't change anything?
Yeah. No. The 0.
Adding 1 changes something. If I said, Matthew, I'm going to give you $7. No, let me add 1 to it. It's going to be 8. That changed something, didn't it? Right? So you with me? So the multiply, if I go, hey, Matthew, I'm going to give you $7. Let me multiply it by 1. That didn't change anything, huh? Right? So multiplying by 1 changes nothing. Adding 0 changes nothing. Remember we talked about that last time? So whenever the number out here, the added number is missing, that's always 0. But when the multiplied number is missing, that's always 1. Why? Because adding 0 changes nothing, and multiplying by 1 changes nothing. But don't reverse those. Right? You with me? Adding 1 would change things. I can't add 1. That would not only make it look different, it would be different. Right? We're making it look different without being different.
So that 0 is y in the graph, right? That's the 0?
That's where you start. Yeah, that's your start. Yeah, so this is our starting dot. Yeah, so we go to the graph now. Let's do it. Let's go to the graph.
Point.
Yeah, where's our first dot? Right in the origin, huh? Boom, right in the middle. Good. And now how do you find our second dot?
You move up 1.
Yeah, this is rise over run.
Move 3.
So go up 1, over 1, 2, 3. Up 1, over 3. And then we connect the dots. There's our line. How are we doing? This getting easier? Questions I can answer? So we always get y alone. Make it look with the 3 numbers, you know. Start at 0, go up 1 over 3. Up 1 over 3. All right. You look happy. Okay. So x plus 5y equals negative 5. All right, so try that. All right, so we got to get y alone. So to get y alone, we subtract x. Oh, it's not very neat. Subtract x. Right, so whenever, here's the wall thing, we want to get y alone. Let's talk a little bit about that. So whenever we're trying to get, something alone, yx, whatever the case may be, we're trying to get rid of all the stuff with it, right? Y wants to be alone, right? Be like if I suddenly yelled out in here, I want to be alone in here. You guys would be like, we want you to be alone, Mr. Heron. We're out of here. Right? So that's what y is doing. It's yelling out, I want to be alone on my side of the wall. So the x and the 5 need to go, right? Now, how do we get rid of the things? We always do the opposite of whatever is keeping them there, right? So what's this x? He's added. So the opposite of adding is subtraction. And then I got to do the same thing on the other side, right? And so that gets rid of that x first off. And we've got 5y equals. Now, you could write it either way, but it's a little easier to put the x in the front. Just what we normally do, just make it a little easier. Okay, now next, y still not quite alone. Got to get rid of that 5. Now, how do we get rid of that 5? What's keeping that 5 there? Yeah, multiplication. It's not added, is it? It's not 5 plus y. It's 5 times y. It's right up against the y, which means multiplication. So the opposite of multiplication is divide, huh? So we divide off that 5, don't we? So we divide. And when we divide, remember how the divide thing works? All 3. 5, 5, 5. Got to do all 3 when you do the divide thing. Is that good? And you divide by the, have you noticed, you divide by the very same signs. Everybody hearing me on this? Am I up here doing the wah, 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 wah? I still remember. I told you guys the story, right? When I was a new teacher and the student in the back had my key, right? So I'm always nervous because I know that person was checked out for 10 minutes flat. I could have been yelling, fire, fire, fire. And there was nothing going on. Funny, well, let me tell you one story. All these years of teaching, you have a couple stories. Students sleep, I put up there on the top. What number really goes on the top? 1, huh? If there's nothing up there, it's a 1. So now we can graph. Where do we start? Where's our first point? Yeah. So here's the first point, and it's always positive up. So it's down 1 in the center, middle, right? It's always in the middle line. It's not left 1. It's down 1, huh? Right there. Is that making sense? Down 1, right in the middle. So that's always where your first dot is. That if that number's positive, you go up the middle. If it's negative, you go down the middle. Always right in the middle. That's your first dot. Now, how do we get our second? Rise over run. Now, with the negatives on the fractions, remember, a negative on a fraction, it's not on both. Why? Why is it? Well, because what would 2 negatives be? That'd be positive. That can't be the same. So remember, the negative is not on both. I always just put it on the top. I think Life is easier that way. So I just put it on the top. So how do you rise -1? Down 1, huh? I go down 1. And that way, I always leave the bottom positive, you see. By putting negatives on the top, never on the bottom. The bottom is positive, so my movement is always to the right, therefore. You could put it on the bottom, and then you go left. There's another way, but I think this is a bit easier. So down 1, over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I went down 1, right 5. And then connect it up. Huh? We good? All is well? Questions on that? Let's try it again. So you know the plan. Get y alone, and then you can do the graph thing when you get the 3 numbers. He said, Miss Taryn, you're so stupid.
No, I
And
didn't.
I forgive her. It's okay. Because she's right. I mean, yeah, I didn't notice the words. Hold on. Sorry. Let's. Right. So number 13, x equals minus 2.5, graph it. So I would turn that mixed number, I would just turn that into a decimal. Are you comfortable with doing that? So I would turn that thing into a
Minus
decimal.
2.5?
Yeah, right? Right? $2.50, $2.50, huh? Minus 2.5. So how do we graph that?
You go to the x-axis.
X-axis at minus 2.5.
And then
The line goes right straight. Remember when there's only one letter, see how this only has X, there's no Y anywhere? It's always a perfectly straight up and down or sideways line, isn't it? So it just goes straight down through that dot. That good on that? Is making sense? Finding these decimals and things. How are we doing? Is that good?